Hey everybody, Steam just dropped an absolute bombshell. Let's talk about it. So, for those of you that don't know, Steam just recently dropped its answer to Xbox, PlayStation, and how expensive PC gaming is becoming with the rise of the cost of Nvidia and AMD GPUs recently. What they've come out with is this thing called Steam hardware, which is essentially an entire ecosystem of devices that all work interchangeably and with each other to bring the best experience to us, the consumer, which is something that Xbox and PlayStation seem to have forgotten in recent years. So, let's go over the lineup real quick and then we'll get into some of my thoughts about it after. So, the first thing that Steam announced is that they're coming out with a new controller. This is probably the least impactful thing of the three items that they've released, but I just wanted to highlight it first. So basically, it's a brand new controller. It has buttons on the back, it has touch pads, and it has some really nice charging. What's the word? Charging technology that is very convenient. Seems to kind of be aimed at avoiding the really annoying things like breaking on a charger. So, for example, I have this PlayStation controller right here, and this thing is a piece of shit. This cord is broken, and the only time it charges is if it's in a very specific spot. And what Valve has done is they've basically created a magnetic attachment that just attaches magnetically for charging, which I think is a way better solution. Also, I know that the PS5 controller exists, but I just think that this is like a way better controller, so that's why I use it. So, the next thing that Valve announced is probably the most technically impressive thing that I've seen from this announcement. They managed to outdo multi-billion-dollar companies like Facebook and make something that seems to be, at least from an advertising, like what I've seen, a pretty solid VR headset. And they've outdone even like Apple with their Vision Pro. I'm assuming they'll outdo them on price as well because that thing is ridiculously expensive. Like no one in their right mind is going to buy that. Um, they released the Steam Frame, which is basically their answer to VR. It's an augmented reality slash VR headset, so it lets you sit at your couch, play your games as if you were on a screen, like through the lens, but also you can play VR. And what's really sick about it is it also lets you, it's its own functional PC, basically. Well, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's its own functional device. You can sideload things onto it, you can load things specifically to it, and it's not dependent on your PC or games, right? Like you can just have it as a standalone device. You don't have to buy everything else, you can just buy the headset, which I think is really cool. I don't really know too much about VR, so we're going to move on. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Steam PC. This thing is crazy. Xbox and PlayStation should be scared. Like, this is wild. I don't even know like when they were working on this, how we didn't know about it and how they kept it quiet for so long, but this thing is wild. Let's just look at the specs for a second. Like this is crazy. So this thing is going to be about 6 inches by 6 inches, so a little tiny cube. It comes with every port you could imagine, Ethernet as well. Supposedly it's quiet and it can run 4K 60 FPS with a caveat FSR. We'll get to that in a second. It also apparently comes with 512 gigabytes or 2 terabyte storage options, as well as expandable storage via micro SD. Basically what that means is storage isn't going to be a problem, so that's not going to be an issue. It also supports Wi-Fi, which is pretty important, and it has no power brick, so it's just this really small portable device that's about this big that you can put basically anywhere and run your games from it. They say that it's going to be useful for living rooms, for your own PC, and it also runs its own optimized gaming OS. So Windows is no longer the main thing that's going to be running on this. It's actually running a Linux-based Arch system, which is something really interesting. If most of you don't know, Linux is more bare bones. There's a lot more management that goes into it, but it's also incredibly efficient. So the fact that their operating system is running based on that is really, really good for us because it means no bloatware. It means that it's going to be efficient and we're not going to have a lot of things in the way of what we want to do, which is play games, right? One thing for all you gamers out there, it also has an LED strip. So RGB is there. You've got it. You can stop whining about it now. It's there, right? It's not boring. Another thing that is absolutely wild about this thing is it's not just like a small gaming machine. It also functions as a PC. Like I said before, because it runs an Arch Linux environment, you can install like normal things on it. You can have like Photoshop. You can have like any app really that you want. You can have games that don't run from Steam on it. You can sideload things. You can mess with it. It's basically a computer. Realistically, at the end of the day, it's an affordable computer. And I think that this is going to really disrupt the gaming industry, especially Xbox. So, for those of you that don't know, I want to give some background really quick because I think that it's kind of important to understand where I'm coming from and why I'm so excited for this. So, when I started playing games, I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, and I got a hand me down PlayStation 2 from my grandma. At the time, it was not the most like recent console that existed, but it was what I really liked, and I didn't know any better. So, my first games were Call of Duty 3, Star Wars Battlefront 2, like the classic 2005 version, and Mortal Kombat Armageddon, which at the time I didn't realize was like one of the worst ones in the series, but it was what I played and I really liked it. So that was where my love of video games kind of started. And then when I wanted an upgrade, all of my friends had Xbox 360s. So I bought an Xbox 360, which I still think was probably one of the best multiplayer experiences for a console that has existed ever. The messages, the voice systems, the UI, everything was just awesome. And I basically just played Destiny on it. That was it. Destiny, some Advanced Warfare, and maybe some of the other Call of Duties, but it was mostly Destiny. And then when Xbox One came out, which was I think 2013 or 14, I don't remember, it's been a long time. I bought one of those. I never really had a PlayStation again, and I played that all the way up till about 2020 when I decided it was time to get a computer. And now I'm here on PC. I ate the upfront cost, but it did hurt a little bit. It took me a while to save up, and I can understand how, for a lot of people, that can be a barrier to entry. Well, one of the big reasons that I moved from Xbox to PC is that to me, Microsoft wasn't really cutting it anymore. A lot of their things had kind of, I've seen a degradation in quality over time, right? Uh, Games getting worse, the system getting worse, releases not being as like unique, and the console not really evolving the way I wanted it to. And now we've seen that even more, right? So we've seen the price of games go up, the quality of Microsoft's exclusives go down. They don't even really have exclusives anymore. They just exist on PC and they're terrible. And the consoles themselves are also more expensive. And honestly, you're not really getting as much bang for your buck as originally like you would get, right? I think PlayStation has always been a better option in that regard. I was mostly on Xbox because of my friends, right? But Xbox did always have a few things over PlayStation. Their multiplayer exclusives were better, right? Halo was the golden child of Xbox, and it's unfortunately gone down the shitter. Um, as much as I hate to say it, that's just true. Like the only thing that Xbox really has going for it now is the fact that you can play cross-platform and it's very connected. But PlayStation seems to be moving in that in that direction as well. So it's not really as big of an advantage anymore. I don't really see a reason in today's day and age to buy an Xbox over a PlayStation. If I was going to have a console like now, I would probably have a PlayStation because there's really no reason. Anything on an Xbox I can have on my computer. So there's really no reason to buy one, right? And Microsoft is definitely feeling this with their sales and their hits. I mean, they've been laying people off. The Xbox team is like struggling really hard to make good content, and a lot of the talent is leaving. It's all going to other places, small indie teams, other companies, um, basically anything you can think that is an Xbox, right? So now let's talk about the Steam PC and where it fits in all of this. One of my biggest problems with Xbox is how expensive it's been getting, how the quality has been going down along with these price increases, and also how they haven't been having like good releases in general. Forza Motorsport, a game that I was really excited for because I've played a lot of Horizon and a lot of the old Motorsport games, was awful. It was absolutely terrible. I refunded it immediately. Even PlayStation to an extent, I think that just having a closed store environment is not really a positive thing for gamers. So there's a lot of people that want a PC, right? But they can't afford it because right now PC gaming is absolutely too expensive. GPUs are through the roof. Like my card I bought, I think it's like 8 years old at this point. It's like a 5700 XT from AMD. This card I bought for $400, and then over the course of a few years, I've seen, obviously now the price is way down, but for the last few years with all the GPU stuff before the new iteration of GPUs came out, the price of that thing like doubled. So you were paying double for something that was like 6 years old at the time, which I think is absolutely crazy. And it basically meant that bare minimum, if you wanted a PC that was going to be able to play today's games, that you were going to be spending probably close to $1,500 to $2,000 just to have a computer that you can't even run the latest like ultra quality games on. The Steam PC seems to be an answer to this, as well as the downfall of the consoles and kind of how people have been wanting to shift away from them, right? So it's affordable, supposedly. I don't know if there's a confirmed price. I wasn't able to find it, but I'm assuming it's going to be reasonably competitive to PlayStation and Xbox. It seems like they're trying to go that route. So another thing that this thing seems to be kind of pushing for is interconnected play, which was a big part of, like I said earlier, Xbox's new game plan, right? Game Pass, Xbox Play Anywhere. These are all ways to play your games outside of the console, which honestly is kind of hurting Microsoft, but also is probably their only lifeline right now. So I don't really know if that's a good or bad thing. But Steam seems to be beating them on this front, at least just looking at the specifications of this thing. It looks like you're going to be able to play interconnectedly between all of your devices pretty like seamlessly. They said that you can run a Wi-Fi connection between the VR headset and your computer, and that it's going to be fast and low latency, and that you can do the same between your Steam Deck and the PC or like anything, right? That's crazy. That is an amazing thing to do. I don't think people realize how impactful that is, because kind of like why Apple's successful, right? You have an ecosystem everything works really well with, and you're incentivized to stay in that ecosystem. And Steam being, or Steam having the reputation that it does, is kind of gonna be uh, a driver for people to stay within it. And it's going to be a real problem for PlayStation and Xbox, because people aren't going to be wanting to buy the new Xbox. People aren't going to be wanting to buy the new PlayStation. They're going to be looking at buying this new PC. I'm looking at buying this new PC. I don't know if you guys can see, I live in a shithole. This thing sucks. I got ceilings that you can just like punch out, and I got a school light. I got all kinds of stuff, right? Like, I don't have the money to buy a brand new like 5090, brand new PC, everything. But I do have the money to buy a Steam PC. Supposedly, right? I'm assuming it's going to be affordable, because it would make sense for who they're competing against. One of the big things is that I can't spend $5,000, right? Like, I just can't. I can't do it. So having that option available, especially with the power they're proclaiming, is going to be really nice. They're saying it can do 4K 60 FPS. There are some caveats to that, right? It says with FSR on their website. And I think it's pretty apparent if you look at the rest of the specs, like the 8 gigabytes of VRAM, that that's what they're shooting for. They don't want a native 4K gaming machine. They want a machine that can run 4K 60 upscaled. Typically, with computers, if you're looking to run 4K on high settings, you're going to need about 12 or more gigabytes of VRAM for most games, because the textures take up a lot of space on the memory, right? With upscaling, you can kind of bring that down, which is where the Steam PC is very reliant on AI upscaling that FSR kind of has, AMD FSR, that is. So basically, what it does is if you run the game at like 1080p, you can upscale it to 4K. It's upscaling from 720p to 1080p kind of sucks, but in my experience, the upscaling up to 4K is pretty hard to tell the difference for most people. It's pretty seamless, and I think overall it's actually better than native, because the FPS boost is crazy. Like, and that's what they're using to achieve these numbers at such a low cost, right? The real winners here, honestly, are going to be gamers. Like, people are going to say like what they want to say. They're going to be like, "Oh, it's going to be like this weird operating system. It doesn't run Windows," or maybe like Xbox fanboys, which if you're still an Xbox fanboy in 2025, dude, like grow up. Go be a Nintendo fanboy. Go be a PlayStation fanboy, bro. That shit is dead. I don't want to see it anymore. And maybe some unks that used to play like Halo and old Gears of War, maybe. But like other than that, bro, like you're just making a bad decision with your money, honestly, at this point. Um, the real winners here are gamers, right? Like, this is gonna be for us, and honestly, I think it's going to be a real shakeup in the industry, because hopefully what I think is going to happen is it's going to incentivize Xbox and PlayStation to up their game a little bit, because they've been kind of slacking recently, and Valve having as big of a market share as it does is basically going to mean that if they don't want to lose out, they got to compete, because Valve is eating them alive right now. We saw recently that Steam has been going through a lot of issues with that antitrust lawsuit, which they beat, by the way. And then also, even more recently, a poll that was conducted among other rival business executives that seem to think that Steam is a monopoly, which by the definition it isn't, but by how many people use it, it could be, but that's not really what I'm here to talk about. Basically, they're winning by just being good, and good faith to the gamers is always going to triumph over marketing. We can see that with the Steam Deck being an affordable answer to the Nintendo Switch that lets you play your PC games and not just be stuck in an exclusive Nintendo environment. And you can see that now with all of their new products. These things seem to be trying to answer problems that us as the consumer have, instead of trying to up profits, reach quarterly market goals, or be the next like big stock price like must buy thing, right? Like, they're doing this for us, and honestly it's because they're private. If Steam wasn't a private company, I'm sure we would see a lot of the issues that a lot of these other companies have. But because they've stayed private, bless Lord Gaben, we've been able to kind of enjoy these things. And if they just keep going this way, they're just going to become the de facto gaming platform. Like they already are on PC, but their consoles are going to have issues if this thing comes out and it's good. Because the console experience is no longer really a thing. Everyone's pushing for crossplay, which removes that entirely from the or removes, what's the word I'm looking for? It removes exclusivity out of the equation. So it comes down to purely the best hardware. And Steam is winning on every front. This thing is slightly less powerful than the newest Xboxes, but it seems that because it's a PC and it can run a lot of the PC software, that it's making up for it on a lot of other grounds. I would probably assume this thing is going to be $600 to $700 on launch, I would imagine. And I think that the 2 terabyte version might go up to $800, but I don't think it's going to be more expensive than that. And honestly, if it's under $1,000, this thing is a steal. Getting a 4K 60 FPS gaming PC in 2025 is expensive, dude. Like, just looking the other day, I was on StarForge, looking at pre-builts because I've been looking to upgrade for a while. Like I said, my PC is really old, and a lot of these things are like $2,000 bare minimum, maybe $1,500 for some of these PCs that have like 1440p cards in them. It gets really expensive to want to play 4K, and the fact that we can maybe possibly have a PC gaming experience at 4K for under $1,000 really, really excites me. So I can't wait to see where this goes. Thanks for listening to my rant. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, and honestly, I want to hear your thoughts below, so leave some comments. I really appreciated all the comments on the last video. You guys were great. I loved reading everybody's perspective, even the ones that maybe didn't agree with me. I mean, I'm open to everything. I also saw one guy that suggested something that I thought was a good compromise. So if you have any ideas, any thoughts, leave them below. Stay frosty, guys. See you.